Here we are again with another banger episode of Constellation. This one is called The Left Hand of God. I know, cool, right? Let's get right into it. We start the episode with Alice and her father walking in a snowy forest, going to the old cabin in the woods. Alice is scared of seeing her mother again in the cabin, and just when they open the door, they hit us with the intro. It's a tradition with the show at this point. We cut to a scene where the family is eating together at the house in Germany. They're eating dinner together, making bad jokes that nobody laughs at until we see her mixing things up again. She doesn't remember where things in cabinets are, etc. Magnus, the father, opens about how she didn't look at him when they said goodbye, which again she disagrees and says that she doesn't remember it that way. These small details are important when it comes to making theories, and it's all going to make sense in a bit, so bear with me here. We get another screen of her dreaming about the ISS and the things that happened. She remembered that thing that was in the ISS with her. Well, I'm surprised she didn't start having nightmares sooner. In a later moment, we see another anomaly where Alice, who's Swedish, doesn't understand her mom speaking Swedish, which is really weird considering that she used to speak it fluently just an episode ago. We see Magnus and our main character talking about how he thinks that she's cheating on her with other guys in the crew, which is an absolutely wild thing to ask. She says absolutely not, and I personally would like to learn where he got that idea. Then everything makes sense when actually Magnus was the guy who cheated and he confessed that he met with another girl and they kissed. And we cut to another scene where the chief wakes up on the ship. Yeah, it's the same ship where he pushed that annoying dude off. Everybody, the FBI included, are searching for the killer. The chief checks the cameras and understands that he's going to be busted soon. He has to do something about it. Should have thought about, not pushing that dude off instead. We cut back to our main character explaining to the therapist that she's misremembering things such as the color of her car or having a piano in her house, even though she doesn't play piano. The therapist tells her that she literally almost died in space. These kinds of PTSD signs are normal. The therapist gives medicine, but our smartass who went to therapy asking for help doesn't want it. I know we're moving fast and getting a bunch of random scenes, but this only means that they're going to connect something big at the end. Chief and our main girl are talking about how an astronaut saw his son in space, which then says, "Daddy, watch out," making him realize that he was in a dive and managed to pull up in the last second. To this day, he swears his son saved his life. Chief asks if she saw stuff like this on the ISS as well. Chief is onto something. Suddenly, the quantum tube experiment starts doing its thing and the conversation is cut. This thing seems to have an effect on her, which makes a lot of sense when you think about all the weird things that kept happening. At home, she's again faced with the same bracelet on a similar door. She instantly remembers all the things that she saw and naturally gets scared. She gets Alice out and she's clearly scared of something. They talk a little bit and decide to spend more mommy Alice time together. When we go back to the chief, he's talking with another professor about the quantum thing. The professor at first is very interested, but then he doesn't want to believe him when the chief says only he can see it. We learn that this pattern occurs when a state in which one particle is in two different states at the same time. Now take a look at this. He says to the chief that he couldn't have built a pathway to another universe, and that must be a false image. This just summarizes everything. For dumber people who don't know quantum science and don't understand anything, like me, here's a simpler explanation. That thing is basically the portal from Rick and Morty.
Oh, hello.
Back at home, we see that even though our main character said she can't play the piano back in therapy, she suddenly starts playing it. From her face, it's obvious that she's as confused as we are. She stops before going crazy to the fact that she suddenly gained piano skills. I feel like that's a problem that most of us would envy. The chief is getting interrupted by the FBI on the murder that occurred on the ship. He plays it cool and they seem like they believe him. While the chief is dealing with that, back home we have a bigger problem. Our main character notices that something is off with her pills, so she sneaks into the lab to see what they contain. Turns out they contain something different than what the rest of the crew is taking. She starts checking the history of other people who were given the same pills, and all of them are people who said they saw stuff in space. Sound familiar? Now here's the bombshell. Two dudes are collecting papers and just doing their jobs. When she asks what they're doing, they don't respond at all. It all makes sense when we see it from their perspective. They couldn't hear her because she wasn't there. They keep collecting papers from the shelves. Whoa. Go back. What do you mean she's not there? She's literally not there. She's in another universe or dimension, whatever. She screams at them, but they still don't hear her, so she gets on their way. Literally, jump scaring the poor dude. They disappear and the connection to this universe is lost. I wonder what happened to them. Our main character sees the chief on her way and tests if he can hear her, and he can, meaning the chief also has these powers. We cut to another scene where she's teaching some stuff to children. Her husband and a girl that she suspects is the girl he cheated with are talking a lot at the back. She suddenly cuts and asks, "Is that her?" They try to play it out, but she keeps asking. She says,
Leave my husband alone, okay?
and just leaves. Even though she isn't supposed to drive, she insists on driving. Alice puts on some song, and that causes her to get some PTSD flashbacks again. They almost crash. At home, Magnus and the guy Magnus thinks she cheated on him with are talking, and Magnus asks if they had an affair. He says yes, so obviously our girl doesn't remember, so she has no idea what's going on when she comes from upstairs. She screams, "I don't remember," but obviously he doesn't believe her. They have a big fight and Magnus leaves. He's kinda right too. I mean, how could he know that his wife is from another universe, right? She finds out some kind of tape that was sent by the space agency and she plays it on a toy. Meanwhile, the FBI finally checks the camera footage, and turns out that the quantum thing actually made it so the camera footage is unusable. So they don't even see the chief pushing the guy off the ship. The same pattern appears on the screen with the same sound, so I'm pretty sure that the quantum tube did this. Our main character hears something and gets another shock of PTSD. She gets so scared and shocked and starts crying. This is the same weird alien-like voice she heard on the ISS. At the same time, we see Alice get out of her famous wardrobe and start listening while her mother loads another cassette into the toy player. When Alice gets down, she's faced with a lot of people in her home. Is it her mother's funeral? Okay, what the hell is going on here? Just as when we think we can't be more confused, she sees herself there. Obviously, she screams, and our smartass Magnus thinks that the best thing to do is stuff her in a wardrobe so she can be even more scared. Turns out, she wants to hide from her mother. They get into another argument and he tells her to take the pills. She mentions that the pills are antipsychotics and he says, that's the point. We get that they all believe that she's crazy at this point. Magnus tries to call Frederick, who's the dude she f***ed with. They both want to get her into some kind of treatment. She tries to take the phone from him but accidentally pushes him, and Magnus hits his head and falls to the ground. We cut to a creepy scene of the painting again. I don't know what's about this painting, but it's damn scary. And the episode ends. Well, folks, we started soft and got some crazy stuff at the end. It's really weird to see her hopping universes. I'm pretty sure this version of Magnus is dead. My theory is she's going to team up with the chief and actually start investigating this stuff. If we get those two to work together, that would actually be good for them, since they're the only people who see this stuff. There's also Alice, but you can't really do much with her. She's just a kid. But the fact is, Alice sees this weird stuff too, and that means that there must be some kind of connection there. My theory is the people who saw the experiment live are the people who are affected by it. There are only 4 people. Paul, the person who did the experiment and got turned into kebab in space, the chief, Alice, and her mom, our main character. All 3 are seeing stuff and hopping between universes. And if the chief somehow can figure out how to control this thing, then we should be expecting that crazier stuff will happen. Until next time, take care, and please don't mess with quantum physics.